Welcome back to Viata International Academy. In today's lesson, we're talking about our family members. It's Teacher Carl here, so let's get into the lesson. Now, family. Most of us have them. Some of us love them, some of us hate them, some of us is like so-so. But in all areas of life, it's very likely that when you meet new people, or even with your existing friends, you're gonna talk about your family. Now, first and foremost, let's go through the family members that we might be talking about when conversing with our friends or with work colleagues. So we might talk about our grandmother, our grandfather, our mother or our mum, our father or our dad. We may talk about our sisters, brothers or cousins, or if we want to talk about all of those in one group, we may talk about our siblings. Maybe we need to talk about our aunt or perhaps our uncle, maybe our niece or nephew. If we are married or we have marriages in the family, we may have in-laws. And finally, you might want to talk about your pets. I certainly consider my dog to be part of my family. Now, you might be thinking, oh, my family, they're very, very boring. There's nothing interesting to talk about. However, you'd be incredibly surprised about the amount of times you're talking about your family and you don't even realize it. So what kind of topics would you be talking about if you're talking about your family? Well, there could be a number, but the most common one that you're most likely to hear or to ask somebody else is, what are they like? Or what do they look like? Now, it's important to remember here, maybe go back a few lessons, that if we are talking about what they are like, we're talking about appearance, we're talking about personality, we're talking about everything that encompasses the person. However, if we're talking about what do they look like, it's strictly aesthetic. Only what they look like, nothing to do with personality. Other topics that are also very popular are what they do for a job, your relationship with a particular person in your family, their age, any hobbies or interests that they might have that might be appealing to the listener. What is their personality like? Again, that comes with what they are like. Any events that you have coming up in your family that are significant. Maybe you have traditions in your family that you follow every single year and you want to talk about those. Or maybe if you're getting a bit deep, you may want to talk about some life-changing events. So let's have a look at some phrases and vocabulary that's going to enable us to do that. So the most popular question that you're likely to ask or likely to hear is, what are they like, or what do they look like? Now, to answer, you're obviously going to be asked specifically, what does your mother look like? What does your brother look like? What is your sister like? What is your aunt like? Your uncle, what does he look like? So obviously you're going to need to choose the correct subject. So my uncle or my grandfather is generous, kind, always willing to help me, but sometimes lazy. So notice we've used personality adjectives. We've also used a few adverbs of frequency like always and sometimes, because we're not always lazy. Next, if you're talking about what they look like, again, you need to highlight the subject, obviously. So my uncle looks like me. Or maybe my aunt looks like my sister. Or maybe they look like somebody famous, like my brother looks like Bad Bunny, or my grandfather looks like Luis Miguel. What does he or she do? What does your member of the family do? Remember, when being asked what does somebody do, it's in relation to their job, specifically in relation to their job. Quite simply, followed by the family member, my uncle, my brother, my in-law, is either a or an, depending on the occupation. Moving on to talking about events. Maybe you want to talk about a particular event that you have approaching that you would like to tell everybody about because you're very excited about it. So you may say something like, my brother, my uncle, or my father, whichever family member you're talking about, is having and then whatever they're having. They could be having a wedding, a posada, a birthday party, a christening, a baby shower. So whatever event, you can use that to talk about what's going to be happening. Maybe you have family traditions. Lots of families do. Things that they do every single year without fail. These are known as family traditions. Quite a popular family tradition is to spend Christmas together or to spend summer together. So if you wanted to talk about that, your family traditions, you could say something like, every Christmas we always... And then what do you do every Christmas? We always go to Monterey, we always take a family trip to Florida, or we always go to my grandma and grandfather's house to have a big dinner and have lots of time with the family. Or maybe something like each summer you go on a holiday with your family. So maybe each summer, my aunties, my uncles and we always go to Chiapas or to Acapulco. Wherever it is you go every year on your family holiday. We would call it a family tradition. And finally, if you're talking with somebody who you're fairly confident with, you might want to divulge some life-changing events. Whether they be good or whether they be bad, it's going to be used with past simple, and we're going to use past continuous to tell the story because it's more than likely that this event happened in the past. So I might want to say something like this. I had been reading when the hospital called. My insert family member, my uncle, my brother, my sister, my mum had been. Now usually it's not good with a hospital. However, maybe they had been delivering new babies, so lots more additions to the family. Maybe unfortunately somebody had been in an accident and this had significant consequences for the family and the life going forward. It was a life-changing event. Or maybe you simply have one of your family members, maybe your cousin, your uncle or your aunt, or maybe your mother works at the hospital and they're a doctor, in which case they needed to call you with something significant, something life-changing had happened. So that completes our quick look at looking and talking about family members. If you have any comments, leave them in the section below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next class.